Based on the title of this installment, I know what you might be thinking. Gun products from Amazon? These probably won't even withstand the duration of this video. But one thing I'd like you to consider is the fact that just because shills, glamour gunners, and gun snobs of the internet think you have to run certain products or you're not a serious shooter, doesn't mean that they're right or even that they know what they're talking about. Not only that, but something I know a lot of you don't realize is some of the very brands that you praise for their integrity are made in the very same factories from China that produce these lesser known brands, even ones sold on Amazon. A hard pill to swallow, yes, I know, but it is a reality that we all need to come to terms with nevertheless. Which brings us to the reason for today's video. Recently, I was contacted by a company that globally produces OEM products for various brands to see if I'd be interested in reviewing one of their own brands that they sell on Amazon. So of course, I was delighted at the opportunity to review a lesser known brand with affordable products that just may offer more value than the price tag leads you to believe. So I present to you two products from a company known as Gowatar. And yes, they are primarily sold on Amazon. On the right, we have the A20 green dot pistol optic, and on the left, the HHC B22 red dot rifle optic. Also, this is an aftermarket mount. It's not actually a Gowatar product, so just pretend like that's not there. Anyhow, some of you may immediately notice that both of these optics closely resemble some of those you may have seen before offered through other brands. And in fact, comparing these to those name brand optics is precisely one of the things we're going to be doing on today's video. For the Gowatar A20 pistol sight, we're going to be comparing it to the Primary Arms Classic 24mm. As you can see, both are aesthetically very similar. There are some key feature differences such as the controls, where the battery is, and also the Primary Arms does have a coated lens which does help in highlight environments. Otherwise, it's safe to say that these look very similar and offer a lot of the same features. As for the Gowatar HHC B22, we're going to be comparing that to the Holosun HE503. Now, goofy names aside, there are a lot of similarities between these two, which comes as no surprise because there's about 1 million of these Aimpoint clones, so you can pretty much pick any brand, and they're going to have a rifle dot that looks very similar to either. However, there are some features that differ between these two, starting with the battery tray versus the battery cap. For me, I prefer this battery cap because the screws on this battery tray are very tiny and very prone to being lost. Now, comparing the controls, again, I'm going to give it to the Gowatar because these are the worst controls I've ever seen or used in my life. They're very difficult to turn, and they give you these caps that they expect you to use to turn them, which, as you see, are also very prone to being lost. Other than that, the Holosun, as you see, does have that solar panel, which personally I am not a fan of. I actually only have this because it's been replaced 2 times. In years and years and years ago, I did want to try out the solar panel. Come to find out, if you breathe on it too hard, it cracks, and it also brings in so much light that it actually disturbs your sight picture. That being said, just on first impressions alone, I'm sticking with the Gowatar. Now that we know what products we're working with and what we're comparing them to, it's time to hit the range to see whether or not products you can buy on Amazon can disprove a world full of haters and naysayers. But first, it should be noted that Gowatar was kind enough to send these products out for my review, so shout out to Gowatar. And as always, a little message for the kind folks at YouTube. While products featured in this video were sent out for review, this is not a paid promotion, brand endorsement, or partner deal of any kind. This channel does not sell nor promote the sale of firearms or firearm-related products. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So as you see, we've got the Gowatar HHC B22 mounted on my 5.56 rifle here. We are using an aftermarket riser because the one that they supply is just a regular co-witness height. I like to run my optics a little higher, so I went with this one because it's got that 1.93 center line. You also may notice that this rifle has a special little feature here. Oh, what's that? Well, YouTube, that is a fully legal non-machine gun NFA compliant item known as a forced reset safety. So not only is it well within legal bounds, but it's also completely YouTube compliant. and that's very important. Nevertheless, I thought this would be a great test for this optic to run it with a forced reset and just see how well it holds up when it's getting jarred around. For many of us, having a plethora of various weapons at our disposal is one of the greatest joys we'll ever know. And if you're a gun enthusiast like me, you're heavily invested in your ever-growing collection of freedom dispensers. So when they're not in your hands, you want to make sure they're somewhere safe and secure. Which is exactly what you get with a Gun Safe by Care. Care offers several models of affordable, easy-to-assemble gun safes that are a conveniently sized security option for any home or apartment. Constructed of a full steel body, pry-resistant hinges, and robust lock bars to ensure your prized possessions are always safe and secure. Care safes feature multiple lock options from key to passcode and even fingerprint entry, so you'll always have rapid access to your firearms in any situation. With multiple mounting attachments and adjustable shelving, you can easily stow several full-sized rifles, pistols, magazines, ammunition, or whatever other sensitive items you need secured. And since they're made of steel, you can also add other magnetic attachments for maximum customization options. But what makes an affordable Gun Safe by Care even better is getting 15% off your order by using this code right here on the Care World website. So go check them out, use my code, and get yourself a new gun shelter. As far as the pistol dot, I decided to mount the Gowatar A20 on my Glock 19 model here. This is an SCT frame with a Marconi Armory slide and barrel. I wanted to go with this pairing because not only does the profile of the optic match the size of this Glock 19 model, but I've also ran the Primary Arms Classic that I'm kind of comparing this optic to on this pistol. That gives me a direct comparison and sort of a feel for any differences that might be between the two. That being said, one huge difference on the A20 that I've actually never seen on any pistol optic before is the relationship between the emitter and the glass and how it projects. What I mean by that is, obviously, if you tilt your pistol down too far, your dot's going to disappear under the horizon, so to speak, because of the angle. However, with the Gowatar, the dot actually starts to disappear even before you get to that horizon. Now, while I have never seen that with any optic before, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Let me explain. So, if you're somebody like me, for example, and you don't run backup irons, you have to develop a habit of being able to draw effectively each time to ensure that your dot's in the right place, because you don't have those backup irons to kind of co-witness and get that even height, even light. So, with this optic, if you have an improper draw, you're going to know immediately because that dot is going to disappear and you're going to know, oh, I'm tilting down too far. So in that regard, it doesn't really bother me so much, but it may be something that some of you or maybe a beginner shooter might have trouble with if you're practicing draws and you're really fishing for that dot. So it is something to keep in mind. I don't think it's like a non-negotiable as far as purchasing this optic, but something I did want to make light of. Man, I love it when you get a straight pass through. If you'd be so kind as to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video, that would be greatly appreciated. Without your support and engagement, these videos just disappear into the ether of the algorithm, so thank you for keeping this channel alive. Now let's get back to the video. But is it a 100-yard dot? Guess so. So after putting hundreds of rounds through both the pistol and rifle models of Gowatar optics, I can officially certify that these things hold their own. In fact, as far as performance goes, I had no issues whatsoever. Clear glass, clear dot, held zero, no battery issues. I mean, honestly, I was quite impressed with just how well these performed, especially when you consider it's a brand I've never heard of that's primarily sold on Amazon. With that being said, I truly believe there's a conversation to be had regarding the higher end products, most of which are overpriced in my opinion, and what most folks see as the alternative to that. Now, I'm not saying that all these name brands, the bigger brands, whatever you want to call it, aren't worth the money. And I'm also not saying that those bigger brands that are more expensive aren't in some way better, or just outright better even, than the budget brands. I'm just simply stating that there is a place in the market for budget brands, and they are very viable tools. And it doesn't mean that the people that purchase them are less of a shooter, less experienced, or less talented. For example, I could take these budget brand optics, go out to the range with somebody of equal skill level as me, and I'm going to shoot as good, even if they have more expensive products. Now, before we get to my final thoughts, check this out. I'm going to keep my final thoughts for this one pretty short and sweet because I feel like the message I was trying to convey was well illustrated throughout the course of this video. However, what I will say is, if you're someone that's looking for an Aimpoint tube-style red dot for your rifle, but don't want to spend Aimpoint money, this is a great option, hands down. And if you're someone that is converting from iron sights and looking to get into the optic world for your pistol, look no further than this guy. That being said, I think Gowatar are making great products, especially for the price point. And the price point is something I would love to see more of in the industry, help get more people on board with having quality equipment, and get people shooting more. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, cheers, and God bless.
Just a good old boy.